So, whenever I tried vibe coding, it always felt kind of counterintuitive to me. And when I thought about it, I realized that we developers actually think in code, not paragraphs, right? So, we have a rough sketch of the code that we're going to write in our head. But when we're vibe coding, what we have to do is that we have to convert that code in our head to English instructions that we then give to the AI. The AI interprets those instructions, tries to figure out what we want, and then ironically, it just gives us code back. And during this entire process, we spend a lot of precious time and tokens. So, why this long and expensive detour, right? What if there was a way where instead of English instructions, we could directly input the rough code in our head, the pseudocode, and the AI would just give us clean, accurate, high quality code out the other side? So that's what shadow coding is, right? And compared to vibe coding, shadow coding gives you consistently high quality code that is closer to what you, the developer, wants, faster and with fewer tokens using cheaper open source models. Why is that? Because when you input pseudocode instead of English, what you're doing is that you're making both your jobs a lot easier. You, the developer, you no longer have to write out this long ass English prompt. And the AI, courtesy of your pseudocode, now has a better idea of the code that you want as output. Okay, so now let's hop into some demos. As you can see, Shadow Code is available as an extension on the VS Code Marketplace. You can install it from there. You will also need a model provider. This is because the extension uses the language's model API from VS Code. So you'll need a model provider like GitHub Copilot too. Okay, so here we have a pretty bare bones Flutter app. And let's start by creating a login screen. We've got an empty login.dart file here. And what I will do is I will click on the shadow code icon. And what it will do for me is that it will create a .shadow file inside a folder structure that mimics the folder structure of our original code. And I'll just start typing here, right? So it's okay if you don't know Flutter. That's not the thing on demo here, I promise you. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just typing some rough pseudocode that's in my head, right? So it's UI code. So I need a scaffold. In that, I want a center. In that, I want a card that has a white background. And let's see. Inside, I want a column and cross align center. And well, since this is a login form, I need a text form field of type email. And I want to validate that email too. And I want a text form field of type password. And I want to validate that password. And I want 8 characters max. Last but not least, I want a submit button that has a deep orange background and white text. Last but not least, we're going to have a sign-in function and this function. So we're going to be using Firebase Auth, right, to handle our authentication. So, I just want a try catch and I want cred equal to Firebase Auth dot sign in. And then if cred.user is not null, then navigator.replace with home. And if there's an error, I just want to show snack bar, dark red background. And sorry, we could not sign in. And I just want to show the error. Okay, now that we've got that, let's see what he generates. As you can see that there's no form and function to what I've written here. There's no specific syntax. I've written just what was in my head, like a rough sketch. And you can see that he actually filled out the details for me. I didn't have to specify these controllers or the form keys, right? That there was a form. And look at that, he handled our validation logic too. He entered the spacing for us. So this code is much closer to what we want, and yet, you know, we didn't have to write a detailed prompt. This is because we gave it code where we were specific. It was specific. Look at that. We wanted a dark red snack bar. He gave us dark red, right? And where we specified that we want exactly this string, he gave us exactly the string that we wanted. Okay, that's pretty good, but I assure you the rabbit hole goes a lot deeper. If you think about it, in shadow coding, the AI is essentially just translating from one syntax to another. So let's use that. Maybe we can take it up a notch. What if we could assign a specific kind of shadow syntax and have the AI generate a specific kind of output code for it? We could actually extend the syntax of our language to handle a variety of common use cases. Think of it as macros for every single language ever and a lot more flexible. A good example of this is the lack of data classes in Dart. So Dart very famously lacks the ability to have data classes. And if you want to do some object mappings from your backend, you have to, write down these giant classes instead. And we've been asking for this feature since 2017, and they haven't gotten to it yet. But with shadow coding, we don't need to wait for that anymore. So I'm going to create a new model file called payment.dart. And let's say we want to create a payment model for ourselves. Now, a very good use case is that you have a backend in Firestore. You want to convert it to a Dart class. So I'm going to type Firestore class payment, and just like a TypeScript type or interface, I'm just going to declare the fields that I need, right? So I need an ID. Let's see. We also need a payer ID. Let's have a payer name. And what else? We could have a merchant ID. A payment method. This could be an enum, right? Cash, card, or online. And of course, every payment needs to have an amount. This payment could be reversible or not. And finally, we have created at and updated at. So I'm going to hand this over to the AI to generate code for it. And as you can see, he's generating our class for us. Oh, one more thing. Shadow code automatically installs, it sees if there are any missing dependencies in the code that the AI generates, and it will automatically install those dependencies for you. So that's pretty cool. But what's even cooler is check this out. I really need you to appreciate what's going on here. This isn't close to what I want. This is exactly the code that I would have written myself. There's nothing that I would change. So what we've done here is that we've added a feature to Dart that doesn't actually exist. And now I can use this shadow syntax in any language. So if you look at my user.dart, that was also created from a shadow file, right? Same input, same output, 100% deterministic every time. So by now, you've got a fair glimpse of what shadow coding can do, but I've got one more thing to show you. After seeing the previous demos, you might be wondering, what if I need to generate code that references other files in my code base? Now, if you were vibe coding, you'd need Cursor or Claude Code to index your entire code base and hope the AI picks up the right context. Shadow coding, on the other hand, lets you be selective about what files you want to include. Let's say I want to create a payment service that references the user and payment models that we just created. I've got a payment service.dart file here, and I'm going to open it up in shadow mode. And let's just start typing. Let me introduce you to the only dedicated syntax that shadow code has, the import function. As you can see, it's immediately recognized by VS Code. And once I start typing out the path to the user and payment.files, files, that shows up in our autocomplete as well. So I'm going to include both our models. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a service in Riverpod, which is a state management service in Flutter. It's okay if you don't know what that is, but we're just going to start shadow coding now, right? So I'll start with an auth provider, and this is just a stream provider that will listen to state changes in our Firebase auth. After that, I'm going to be writing some reference functions to get the Firestore references for user and payment. So I'm going to start with get user ref. It's going to take a UID, and basically I just need to return user's UID with converter. And we'll do the same thing for the payments collection. It's a NoSQL database, right? So it's got docs and collections, get payments ref, and this will also take user ID, and this will be get user ref user ID, and then payments with converter. Now let's start writing the stream providers for our user and payments. So our user provider is also going to be a stream provider. And basically what this will do is this will just listen to our auth provider or watch it. And if auth user is not null, we just want to return our get user ref auth user .uid.snapshots. And then the same thing for our payments provider, which will also be a stream provider. And this will watch our user provider actually. So user is going to watch user provider dot value. And if user is not null, then just return get payments ref f user dot id dot snapshots. And we're going to hand this over to the AI, and let's see what he generates. So the import function tells the AI exactly which files to look at. So now the AI knows about my payment model, it knows about the user model, it understands the structure, and so it can frame these services accordingly. As you can see, we've got our reference functions done quite well here, right? Look at that. He referenced our get user ref here too, and then went one step further to get the payments collection. And he wrote our services just fine. Okay, time for the big reveal. I'm sure you've been wondering what model I'm using. I'm using OpenAI's 20 billion parameter GPT OSS model. I want you to think about this. A model with just 20 billion parameters gave us an output that is comparable to models 5 times its size, and using fewer input tokens. There's no need to pay Cursor or Claude Code hundreds of dollars anymore and burn through millions of tokens for code you can't manage. With shadow coding, any free or open source coding model in the 10 to 30 billion parameter range is good enough. But more importantly, it puts you, the developer, back in control of your code. So, if you like what you saw, give shadow coding a try yourself. You can download the extension from the VS Code Marketplace right now. It's totally free. You can use shadow code for any programming language you want, but there's dedicated prompt support for just 3 languages right now: Dart, JavaScript, and TypeScript. If you would like to help expand support to more languages, the project is open source, so we welcome any PRs. Please do leave us a star on GitHub, it helps a lot. Link to the project is in the description. Thank you for watching.